What's up everyone, MK Tom Brady here. In this video, we're going to talk about fighting zoning type of styles of play and zoning characters. So zoning is something that's very frowned upon in the Mortal Kombat community. Now, while every 2D game has some form of zoning, most other communities have accepted that zoning is part of the game. Then we come to the Mortal Kombat community, who think zoning is the worst possible thing. And if they had their way, zoning would never exist ever again in any MK game. Their MK community is very much overall stuck in the, hey, I'm playing a martial arts fighter. It's a fighting game where you fight, not run away and throw projectiles. They're very much in that mindset. And hopefully this video helps. So step one to fighting zoning is examining the very philosophy that people want to use to combat it, which is this character is going to do projectiles on me. These projectiles do damage even if I block. I got to get in, I got to jump, I got to dash, I got to do this move or that move. Got to get in now, got to pressure now, got to do this, got to do this. I have to do this. I must do that. This, ironically, is the overall strategy that most people use, especially newer players. This is the worst possible thing to do. And when I say this, people always look at me like, what do you mean? Of course you have to get in. Of course you got to put the pressure on them. They're zoning you. First step is to break yourself of this mindset. Break yourself of this mentality. Zoning is predicated on this mentality being used to combat it, which makes it even more effective. Zoning is like quicksand in a lot of ways. The more you struggle, the more you fight, gotta get in, I gotta get in on this character, the further you sink. That is what zoning is like. So you've got to think about zoning like quicksand. The more you struggle, the more you sink, the more damage you lose. So patience is what needs to be used for zoning. What you have to realize is a lot of people that use zoning characters on you in today's game, traditionally, they're not zoning type of players. What I mean by that is if you think about the whole lifespan of Mortal Kombat 11, Cetrion, for being as strong as she is, had the least amount of representation. You saw a million Gyruses when the game came out, a billion Gyruses. Everyone, Gyarus. We see a lot of Jackie, right? Upgraded Jackie everywhere. Jackie. Liu Kang here, Liu Kang there. A lot of these type of characters that are in the top, but you didn't see too much Cetrion. Why is that? Because people don't like fighting zoning. They don't even like zoning. Zoning does not fit a lot of playstyles. So more times than not, if your opponent is picking a zoning playstyle on you, a zoning type of character, they're doing it out of what they believe to be necessity for the matchup. And they're not even that great at zoning. They're just hoping for you're going to use the gotta get in, gotta rush them down, and you're going to get hit and just totally fold to the strategy. But they're not zoners themselves. In fact, they're probably not even that great at zoning. They're more banking on you killing yourself as opposed to them actually having to kill you. So one, recognize patience. A lot of times the player using the zoner could get just as impatient as you and open themselves up. We'll come back to that. Okay, so one strategy you can use is counter zoning. Now, of course, people say, Tom, Cetrion has a teleport, can't counter zoner. Yeah, we get that. But here's where things start coming into play. Take a character like Cetrion. She has a teleport. Okay. Zoning her from this range is probably not very smart. Why? Most projectiles, especially those on the slower side, she can just react to, teleport, and punish you. She can also do this airborne, so if you're doing something that she's going to land on, she can still do it. So you can't zone when you see her like jump and planning on having the projectile hit her as she's landing. She doesn't even have to land. She can just do it airborne. So this all tells you the range you want to fight the zoner at. You want to fight the zoner at this range right here. More times than not, this is where you always want to be against the zoner. Well, why not here? Why not there? Why not right here, right? Okay, we'll get into that in a second. So for one, the counter zoning. If the zoning type character has a teleport, the closer you are, the harder it is for them to react to the projectile in question. Even something as slow as Sub-Zero's Ice Ball, for me to actually react to the Ice Ball and not movement or a stray jab or something like that, for me to actually see the projectile come out and know it is nothing but the projectile, thus avoiding me getting baited to doing something. There's no way against most projectiles I can do that from this range. They're going to hit you before you can get the teleport out. This then requires the zoning type character to get into a zoning battle, which in the case of Cetrion, a lot of characters can actually win a pure zoning battle, or start teleporting on a guess as opposed to on reaction. And this is what can free up counter zoning. Cetrion's projectiles are very slow. They're not the fastest projectiles out there. So you're at a range in which you can counter zone without having to worry about her teleporting and still beating a lot of her other projectiles. Okay, so this establishes the range at which you want to play at just for your counter zoning purposes. Now on to the patience. Cetrion's boulder does a lot of damage for a projectile. So this boulder right here does a little over 2%. It takes, with last breath, it takes about 50 of these to kill you. 50. Most people are not going to throw 50 boulders from this range, especially since in Mortal Kombat 11, for example, you have a technique known as flawless blocking. And the boulder was changed a little bit to reward you for flawless blocking. So you used to not get that much. You used to still get pushed back. Now, when you flawless block it, the pushback is much less. And of course, flawless blocking in general seriously tones down the damage the attack does. Cetrion's boulder is probably the easiest projectile in the game to flawless block. And even at mid-level, you see more people flawless block this than not. At high level, it is almost always flawless block. If you feel like this is something that is unreasonable to do, then the problem is not with the zoning itself. It's the fact that you are just too stubborn to learn one of the mechanics in the game that enables you to fight things like this without having to deal with pushback, chip, etc. Flawless blocking is there, not just for up-close game, but also for ranged game as well. And Cetrion's boulder is one of the great examples. So while it takes 50 of these without flawless block, it takes a billion of these. And even if you want to say you flawless block even half of them, and the other half you do not flawless block, it still takes a billion of them to kill you, even if you only have a 50% flawless block rate. So for one, patience. Just because projectiles are doing damage to you doesn't mean you need to get in. Even if you block a few boulders and a few of the Hell's Wraths here, you're still just one combo away from tying everything up or even having the lead plus the knockdown plus the pressure. Realize that those opportunities will come. You don't need to rush them. And just because you're losing some life on block doesn't mean you now need to just go crazy and start losing more life getting hit. Even when you're getting hit, realize even if you get hit by 2 or 3 projectiles, that's okay. You lost, 10 to 15% of your health, but there's 80 seconds left and you have 85% of your health. That's no reason to abandon patience and gotta get in. So recognize that blocking a few projectiles or even getting hit by a few of them does not need to send you into panic mode. You always want to stay calm and collected and always stay in these ranges. So not only, like I said, does this allow you to counter zone from ranges like this against zoners that have a teleport, you want to stay out of range, out of as many of their attacks as possible. So for example, you're out of the range of her Cetrion's jabs, of her mids, you're out of range of rock wall. She actually has to amplify it to reach you. Boulders, you can flawless block, and she has to use Hell's Wrath. So what you're in range of is this. You're out of range of a lot of her attacks. Moves like rock wall, she has to spend a resource to keep safe because you're going to punish it. It does have a decent amount of recovery, so you always have to make her spend that resource. If she uses things like Geyser or her vines, This is massively unsafe, and you're in range to punish it. Same thing with things like Hell's Wrath. If she doesn't amplify it, you are in range to punish it. So you want to stay in range to punish everything that you can, close enough to still capitalize on a mistake, but far enough that the zoner still has to overextend themselves as well. And this is where you test their patience. They may not like having a bazillion rock walls, flawless block, right? They don't want to do vines or even ground pound or geyser from ranges like this, because again, if they try the ground pound and don't amplify it, you're going to jump in and punish her. So what do they start doing? Amplify and then look for something, amplify and then come in for more pressure. Start trying to maybe jump kick or try to come in a little bit and then do an attack to kind of meet you halfway. But this, as they move back, as they move forward, you move back, vice versa. You always want to maintain this range. This allows you to whiff punish them if they get impatient. Straight counter hit them out of attacks if they get impatient. Punish them out of unsafe attacks. Counter zone. Everything comes from this, but you're still being patient. You're forcing nothing. Now, a character like Cetrion has certain things tied to her resources, such as Hell's Wrath. It's unsafe, right? Unless she amplifies it. And of course, the farther back she is, the more safe it is, which is why you always want to maintain this range. So sometimes you want to force them to come off of all their resources, and this can actually cause a huge problem for a character like Cetrion. So when she's doing Hell's Wrath, it might be a good idea every once in a while to always try to throw your punish out. Because if she amplifies it, just the second hit is going to catch you. The second hit alone only does 5%, right? So 5% damage. So your punish, even if you guess wrong once and the second time she doesn't amplify it, your punish is always going to do 2 to 3 times as much on her as the one Hell's Wrath does to you, the amplified portion. What you're doing here is establishing that she always, the Cetrion player here, or any zoner in these type of situations, must always spend the resource to keep themselves safe. So not every zoner has to spend a resource, but not every zoner is Cetrion. Again, these strategies you apply to the situation because Cetrion also has the option to amplify to make moves safer. That's an option for her. So we're going to go over that here. When she's trying to zone you out with things like this, it's a good idea to every once in a while try to use your Punisher. So now she always has to amplify it. If she doesn't amplify it, she's going to get knocked down and you're going to be right next to her and now your offense starts. So she starts feeling like, well, I don't want to do this because I don't want to always amplify it because then I do this twice. And then even if they got hit both times, I have no more meter. Right? I have no more bar. And now what am I going to do? You know, now if any Hell's Wrath I do, if I'm trying to keep them out with it, it's a punish. Whenever I do something into Rock Wall, I don't have the bar to amplify. It's a punish. So this goes into another thing that we're about to hit on in a second. So you always want to try to keep that in mind that sometimes, not always, but sometimes you want to force their hand. You know, and this has them start doing things like this, and then, oops, and then you still buffer the punish, and then they're like, why? Why would he do that? Doesn't he know I could just amplify it? You want to force them to always amplify. Always amplify or they're going to get the punish. Even if you don't always do that, you want to have that in their head. So either they will use this attacks like this less, or you won't use it at all unless they have the bar. And if they do try to use it, you're going to get the punish. Because there's only so much bar they have. This allows them now when they're out of resource and they're trying to keep you out. Now they have no more resource. They do this, it's a punish. This, it's a punish. Everything they do is a punish now. And they also don't have any resources to spend for other attacks, combo starters, etc. Okay, so next thing is also you always want to keep in mind of their resources. So once you use strategies like this and you're always forcing the player to expend their resources, realize when the resources are gone. I can't tell you how many times I see a Cetrion player, for example, with no resources, and they do something like this, and there's no punish. Because people are so used to them always having the resource that oh, I didn't even realize they didn't have the bar, and they don't punish it at all. And there was no option to even try to make it safe. There was not even an option of amplify, non-amplify mind game. The same thing for Hell's Wrath as well. I see here with no resource sometimes and no punish comes out because people are so used to blocking the amplified version. Overall, dealing with zoning is a combination of patience, resource, and knowing the distance that you're at. When you're at ranges like this, every time they do something, it's an opportunity for you. You always get them to kind of feel like, oh, am I going to have to do 1,000 of these to kill you? Yes. You are going to have to do 1,000 of this or 1,000 of that to kill me. Are you really patient enough to do that to me? And even if you are, I'm in this range, I'm being patient, you're giving me 1,000 opportunities to kill you. And that can snowball, right? They do it so much by you being patient, even though you're blocking, you're not losing but so much health. But when they get hit, they're losing a ton of it. And you force them to make mistakes, jump at the wrong time, come in at the wrong time, zone at the wrong time, use their resources and now be empty and now get punished because they don't have any more resources while they're doing this attack and it's unsafe now. All these things kind of snowball down. Then you knock them down, do damage, they get hit, they have to get up, and then you're pressuring them, etc. And then they end up down on life, and then it's the reverse. Instead of them trying to beat you with zoning, now they're always trying to get in to do something to you. And of course, you have the life lead, and now you're playing keep away from them, and now they're not patient anymore. You've reversed the mind game on them, so to speak. And all these things are very good when dealing with zoning. It's better, more so, to be patient and wait and let these opportunities come to you as opposed to you trying to create your own opportunity. So many times people always believe they have to create the opportunity. What you don't realize is the zoner is always creating the opportunity for you. You don't have to do anything. They're already doing the majority of the work. All you need to do is be patient, wait for your opportunity, and take it when it comes. Thanks for watching, everyone, and stay tuned for more content.